Making It Grow is brought to you in part by Santee Cooper, South Carolina's state-owned electric and water utility. More information on green power and energy conservation programs online at santeecooper.com. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, reminding you that certified South Carolina agricultural products help make South Carolina grow. McLeod Farms in McBee, South Carolina. This family farm offers seasonal produce, including over 22 varieties of peaches. Glory Foods, celebrating Southern food with a soulful heritage. Glory Foods, a way of inviting South Carolina back to the dinner table. FTC Diversified, a proud part of your local communities, providing communication, entertainment, and security. Art Fields, a 10-day art competition in Lake City, South Carolina. Additional funding provided by International Paper.
If you've been feuding with your sweetie pie, this would be a good time to make up because the temperatures are going to go shoo tonight. And if you're just so mad you can't make up, then let the dog in tonight and get the dog to sleep on the bed with you because it is going to be cold, cold, cold. But it's nice and warm here in Sumter. I'm Amanda McNulty with Clemson Extension, and thank you for joining us for SCETV's own gardening show, Making It Grow. We're delighted that you're with us, and we've got some good, smart extension agents inside ready to answer your questions. So we've got that toll-free line. Master gardeners are standing by ready to answer your call. So please do call us up. We'd love to help you with problems that you might be having in your garden. We can't do much about the temperature, but maybe there's some other things that we can help you with. We are also happy tonight because we're going to take a trip up to Clemson. Team Making Grow went up there because we had a celebration of Agriculture Day, and extension agents, former extension agents, posthumously were inducted into the Frank Lever Hall of Fame, a wonderful tribute to the early pioneers in Extension. I think you will enjoy the footage we have of that celebrating Agriculture Weekend. So let's go inside and see who's here to celebrate gardening tonight. Of course, Teresa Lott is a water quality agent, and you sure can't garden without water, can you, Teresa? And Teresa's over in Florence, and she comes over to help us with the chat room and many other things. And Teresa, you know, usually we tell people that, you know, in this time of year they don't have to do too much watering, but it has been so dry. Gosh, do you have any tips for us on how to handle this drought?
Well, good evening, Amanda. You are correct that we are sort of winding down for watering most things, but it has been a little dry, so your plants might need a little drink. And with the cold temperatures that we're expecting, some moisture in the soil is a good thing. It will help to absorb more radiation, solar radiation throughout the daytime, and then re-radiate that through the evening to compensate a little bit for those cold temperatures. If you'd like to join me in the chat room this evening, I certainly would love to have you. Simply go to the Making It Grow Facebook page. Once you're there, you're going to want to click on the green Let's Talk icon. Now, do be sure you're accessing Facebook with your favorite web browser and not the mobile application. So click on that icon. You'll be directed into the chat room where we already have 7 speakers, and I have a feeling that a lot of our conversation tonight will be about what we can do to protect our plants from the cold weather. Join us now. We'll be chatting all evening long. Amanda, back to you.
Thank you so much. And if you are a SCETV follower and fan, and of course you are, then you know that we rely on donors to keep things going. And here at Making It Grow, we rely on volunteers as well. And I want to share with you and let you meet some of our wonderful volunteers who come and are now part of our family. And they are experts. And in the orange shirt, appropriately, for a show that tonight is going to talk about some Clemson activities, David Shadone. And David is an IT specialist with the county, and he can really do wonders with the camera. And standing next to him, this lovely young lady is Lacey Taylor. And Lacey started here when she was in high school, and now she has graduated from Carolina. And she and David are making plans for a wonderful wedding next October, and we wish them all the best of in the world, two mighty sweet people, and they have a good example of how to behave in marriage, because standing right next to Lacey is David's father, Paul Shadone, who is a wonderful family man and has come to help us out and just a wonderful part of our family. And next to him, Trevor Balknight is the grandson of Frosty Balknight, about whom Tony Melton can probably tell some stories. And we want to thank all of them for their great dedication and friendship and support here at Making It Grow. Thank you guys. You are the best. Also, we have one of the best here tonight with us, and that is our peacock girl, none other than Vicki Bertinelli herself, who has been endued with even more beautiful hues than normal. And Vicki, of course, is the horticulture agent down in Lexington and Aiken. And I think this time of year, you may have some plans for a Master Gardener course, and so share that with our viewers.
I do. We've got a class coming up that'll be held in Lexington starting January 2015. And right now, the applications are available online. You can find them on the Aiken and Lexington County websites, and also on the Midlands Hort Facebook page, and also I think I have one on the Making It Grow Facebook page.
Well, great. And anytime you need to get in touch with any Clemson Extension offices, this is how I do it. I just Google Clemson Extension Aiken or Clemson Extension Lexington.
Yep.
And also I want to say that Vicki's, this is Master Gardener program, that this would be a wonderful Christmas present for someone. It is a terrific course, and people who take it really find it kind of life-changing. Thanksgiving is coming up, and I know your husband's going to be with you, and you're thankful for that. But in your yard, is there something in nature at the moment that you're enjoying and are happy for?
I tell you what, I was really excited about yesterday. Even though the cold weather hit the night before, it got down to about 30 at my house in Belvedere. But I got 5 more of those orange sweet cherry tomatoes
that look like
your necklace. Got 5 more. I ate them right off the vine today.
I know. South Carolina is fun because we do have an extended harvest season, don't we?
It was wonderful because they were green, and then it got a little bit warm during the day, and suddenly they were ripened, even though the leaves were all wilted and everything. But I still had tomatoes ripening.
Juicy tomato. And Tony Melton, of course, is a fruit and vegetable specialist for farmers in the PD and, as I say, beyond. And Tony, what's going to happen with this cold weather tonight?
It's going to be a little scary, especially with things like turnips, mustard, especially if you got some cauliflower or broccoli. I think they should cover it some way. I think they should. I know a lot of farmers that are even covering it to keep it warmer.
I was going to be thankful for my turnips because this year the bottoms are actually big, so am I going to have to give that thanks back up and think of something else?
Well, even though it may kill the tops, they can still stay in the ground for a while.
Okay.
And actually, you can even still eat the tops after they might look ugly,
but they'll cook up just fine.
They'll cook up fine.
All right.
For a little while.
What are you thankful for that's in the garden or just out there in nature this time of year?
Well, I love the greens. I mean, the greens, some type of greens. And there's nothing prettier than looking at 100 acres of collards or turnips or mustard. And spinach. Oh, spinach just is so green and lush. It's just so beautiful, Amanda.
We do. We are lucky with what we do. Even when things are brown and fall colors. I mean, there's just always something wonderful in South Carolina to be thankful for.
That's for sure.
Yes, there is. Well, and we are now going to speak to our favorite professor, for whom we are very thankful, and that is Dr. John Nelson, who is the curator of the A.C. Moore Herbarium at the University of South Carolina. Dr. John?
Hello, Amanda.
Hello, John.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be a 2-dog night.
Yeah, and you got 2 dogs right there. So
I got 2 dogs.
Are they allowed in the bed?
Say that again?
Are they allowed to sleep on the foot of the bed?
Are we allowed?
Oh, okay. I know. I go to spend the night with my girlfriend, Ruthie Lacey, and her dog gets in the bed, and you can push him with your foot, and the dog won't move. And it's this big old fat yellow Labrador Retriever. Anyway, but tonight I'd be glad to have that dog in the bed with me. Well, John, we are glad that you are up there in Columbia and are such a good sport and a help to the citizens of South Carolina by giving free, not much is free these days, free plant identifications. And so if somebody gets to take a walk Thanksgiving afternoon after eating all that good turkey and sees something that puzzles them, how can they get a little picture sent up to you?
Well, it's real easy, of course, and just want to remind everybody that just because it's getting chilly now, and it's not quite winter technically, but it's cold enough to be winter, that there's still plenty of interesting plants out there for us to be looking at. And that if you do have something that's of interest to you or a mystery, we'd be happy to take a look at it for you, and just send it as a email attachment to me, or you can drop it by the herbarium here in Columbia.
All righty. Well, and we will look forward to being puzzled and possibly stumped, but maybe we will be pleasantly surprised by our basic knowledge when we come back to you just a little bit later for the mystery plant.
Okay, and it's going to be a real pretty one.
Oh, can't wait. Okay, we'll see you in just a little bit. We have our first caller, and Robert's calling us from Prosperity. Robert, I sure hope you've been prosperous this year up there in Prosperity.
Yeah, we have.
I'm glad to hear that.
I was just concerned about my crepe myrtle tree. The leaves off of them, ain't got nothing but berries on them. And I kind of wanted to trim them back, but my wife keeps saying no.
And your wife, you should listen to your wife. That is why people get married and marry people who are smarter than they are, because wives often know better. And the thing, and I'm just teasing you, and some people do trim their crepe myrtles back, but Vicki, it doesn't really serve a purpose, does it? And it doesn't help the tree be healthy, does it?
No, the trimming is from the older times when these older varieties, some of them had to be trimmed in order to make them bloom better, but these varieties that we have nowadays, you don't have to trim them, and pruning should really only be done with dead and diseased wood, and if it really needs to be shaped up, but it really and truly, as long as it's the correct variety and it's good in that space, you don't have to prune it at all.
And Tony, sometimes we do remove some interior limbs because they do need sunlight. Is that correct?
Thin them out a little bit. Like what you say is thin them out so that a bird can fly through it.
Throw a cat through it.
Throw a cat through it.
Okay. Yeah, just because they do need sunlight in order to, they really like full sun. And but it may be that, and some of the older varieties lose their leaves faster than some of the new ones, and so you might be looking at some down at the bank down the street that were planted more recently, and they hold their leaves for a long time, and some of the older varieties lose their leaves early, but it doesn't mean that they're unhealthy. So I hope that you're still getting a beautiful display of flowers.
We actually have a really great fact sheet on the HGIC about how to prune crepe myrtles.
Yes, we do.
And so that's give you some guidance.
And to find find anything at Clemson's HGIC, which stands for Home Garden Information Center, because I can't rattle it off as fast as Vicki, I just Google Clemson HGIC, and then I put crepe myrtles, CRAPE. Libby's calling us from Kynard, or is it Kynard? Libby, tell us how to say the name of the town correctly, please.
Well, if you're from here, it's Kynards, of course.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
well, we want to say it like the locals do. So, Libby from Kynards, we're glad you called us up tonight. And how can we help you?
Thank you. I see you have Vicki there, and I think she's an etymologist.
Yes, she is.
And I have a hornet's nest that is in my scarlet honeysuckle. I want to know how I can safely harvest that hornet's nest without getting stung. I don't want to destroy it. I want to keep it. If she can help me.
Is it one of those beautiful ones that's like gray paper and everything?
Yeah. It's about the size of a soccer ball.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Okay. They are so pretty. What do you think she should do so that she can safely bring it into the house and have this treasure?
Most of the time, the winter time will kill off a good number of them. There'll still be a few that overwinter, just because sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
But the way you can do it is there's a fact sheet that tells you how to treat them on the HGIC.
Okay.
But you can put a little bit of insecticidal powder around the opening, and as they come in and out, it'll kill them. And what I would do is I would just keep dusting it until you actually don't see any more coming in and out. And you have to be really, really careful with them. Don't go out there with a flashlight or anything like that, because they are attracted to light.
So what time of day would you try to get that dust on them?
You can put it out.
Are they less active at night?
It's so cold outside.
Oh, this would be a good time to do it.
It's actually a good time of year to do it.
Okay, because they're going to be, they're not going to be moving.
They're going to go. They'll move really slow.
Okay.
They may not even fly at all.
Great. Okay. Great. That's wonderful news. Charlie's calling us from Augusta, which is real close. Charlie, you could take the Master Gardener course in Aiken next time that Vicki offers it there. But we're glad that you called us up tonight. And how can we help you?
I have a question about bees. I have a confession to make. I'm a very lazy gardener.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the best way to be.
And I would like bees in my yard, but honeybees take a whole bunch of work, okay? So before I had to move, I had 2 nests of bumblebees out there. And I moved away. I stayed away for a while, and now I'm back and trying to reestablish my garden again. But my bumblebees aren't back there. I had 2 nests of bumblebees, and I also had a carpenter bee because the silly thing kept trying to bore a hole through my shovel.
Yes, they do.
And a friend of mine finally just gave me some blocks of oat to hang up by the on the trees.
Oh,
but
good.
I'd like to know if I could, is some kind of way that I can invite my bumblebees back. You know,
all right. Okay. All right.
And is there any kind of little sign I could put up and say nest here and not there, or will I just have to make peace with them?
I don't think that they follow the traffic signals too much, Tony. And the thing is, it's not just bumblebees, and Vicki, it's not just bumblebees. I mean, the native pollinators are just myriad. And what's the best strategy for bringing them to your yard?
You have to plant things that they're attracted to. And you have to remember that it's not just honeybees that do the pollinating, not just the bumblebees and the carpenter bees. There's tons of flies, there's lots of wasps, but you have to plant plants that attract them. The Xerces Society, Xerces, Xerces Society has wonderful, a whole website, and they've got books on how to attract pollinators and keep them in your yard.
And Tony, even such simple things as, I know when my collards went to seed, I just left those bloom, when they went to flower, and it was stunning how many little pollinators I had.
Yes, they'd shoot up a nice pretty flower, too.
Yeah.
And
so just diversity and variety, would you think that's important also?
Very much so, just have different things there.
Okay.
And a lot of times, a lot of people want to pull things up like that. And then you also get butterflies in there by that, because they actually, the larvae feed on like the collard plants or the cabbage plants, and you get a lot of diversity. And you can also, you can also obtain a bumblebee hive from catalogs and things.
Okay,
You can
so if she particularly wants that, she could probably reestablish that. But you've got to be sure that you've got things that can support them once you get there.
That's right. You can get a little box of them, is actually
That
what
might
it
be a
is.
fun Christmas present, but probably not Christmas in the time to put them up. I don't know that Dr. John wants a bumblebee box for Christmas, but we sure are glad that he is part of our group, and so we're going to have to find him some nice warm wool socks or something. Right now we're going to go to Dr. John and see what he's got for us tonight as the mystery plant. John?
Okay, Amanda. Let me just say that all of this business about pollinators and having lots of different kinds of insects in your yard,
Yes.
I'd say that lots of different kinds of families of flowering plants, if you can get them, as many different kinds of families as you can. Always, it adds to the pollinator diversity.
And it makes your yard more interesting too.
Yeah, and a couple of the things that I've found that are really, really good for pollinators are phlox.
Phlox, okay.
And things that are in the carrot family.
Aha.
And like dill, that kind of thing.
Because they have short corolla tubes, I think, and a lot of the insects have short tongues. Is that correct?
And one of my favorites is Vitex.
Vitex,
One
Tony
of the
says too.
great-
Vitex
Chase
is a beauty.
tree. That's a great one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, we've got a good list of things that people can get for Christmas presents, because fall is a good time to plant things. But you've been out botanizing, and you found something that you'd like to share with us and with our viewers tonight. And what is that?
Well, I do have something, and I want to just give you all a hint first.
All righty.
And it involves the girls here. I don't know where Rosie went, but these girls have been running outside early in the morning chasing a possum.
Ooh. Aha.
Anyway,
Okay.
the plant we've got tonight is a beautiful native shrub. Sometimes it gets to be a small tree, and it loves to grow in wet forests, especially along floodplains of rivers. And it makes a beautiful foliage, which it's completely deciduous, so every single leaf will fall off. The leaves have slightly scalloped edges. And of course, the flowers are real tiny, and they tend to be either male or female plants. So
Uh-huh.
you usually have one or the other.
So
That's
there's
also kind of a hint in a way.
Yes, it is.
And in the wintertime, just fantastic, beautiful fruits that it'll produce if you have a female plant. And a lot of people like to use these for holiday arrangements and such. And now, of course, these fruits are they're sort of like berries. They have a few seeds inside. They're not very good to eat, so don't bother with that.
Okay. Tony, I think Vicky's smiling too.
Holly family, one of the hollies.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, you've heard of mayhaw, but this one, he told us that one of the hints was that animal that hangs by its tail. So this one is not mayhaw, but
Possum haw.
possum haw. Yeah, that's a great one.
Okay.
Yeah, one of
That
my
is a great one.
favorite.
Trigagus?
No, I think it's Alex.
Yeah, it's a holly, and
That's
it is
decidua. Okay.
a beautiful native species, which ought to do well, I think, in cultivation.
It does. I have several of them in my yard, and I do just what you said. I love to use it. And the first time I saw it, I was expecting my first child 33 years ago, and my brother took me down in the Congaree Swamp at Christmas time. And we saw these blazes of red occasionally, I guess on some kind of hummocks, John. And there they were down there in the swamp, just being so gorgeous during that cold December day. Thank you for sharing that beautiful, beautiful native plant with us. Very easy to grow, very easy to grow. Thanks, John, and we'll check with you next time.
All right, that's a lot of fun.
Bye-bye. All righty, we're going to check in with Mr. Race and find out about those chat rumors and if we've got them sitting on the fence or if they're actually talking.
Well, there's a few fence sitters. We've got 11 speakers and 5 viewers. So you viewers, I do encourage you to go ahead and join in the conversation. Even if you don't think you're an expert, I'm sure you have something to offer to the conversation. One of our questions was about pecans or pecans, however you like to say it, and production of nuts. And Clemson has a great fact sheet. Pecan trees can be kind of picky about their nutritional requirements. They need some zinc. So just like we always recommend, do be sure to get a soil test to determine your fertilizer needs. And I'll be sure to post a link to that. It is not time to fertilize. That's late February, I believe, but just wanted to be sure we answered that question. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you what I'm thankful for. Of course, there are so many things I could take up a whole show, but I'm very thankful to my grandparents for introducing me to gardening and preserving at a young age. I have great memories of picking strawberries with my grandfather and snapping beans with my great-grandmother and using our local Northern Spy apples to make apple pie with my grandmother. So thank you for that, and I hope to continue that for many years to come. Amanda?
That was sweet, Teresa, and I've met Teresa's grandmother and grandfather, and she is very blessed to have such wonderful people in her family. We want to give y'all give you a little heads up that this is the last time we'll be coming from this wonderful general store for which we've been so thankful for over 20 years. It's just been a wonderful set, and all the people who were involved in putting it together and keeping it up to date for us and keeping us so comfortable. But but sometimes things have to change, and we're going to have a new set in the end of January. So we'll be going to Columbia until then, and that'll be fun too. We'll get to be in the capital city, and so don't despair. We will be with you, and so keep tuned because things are going to be exciting, and we hope that you will all be pleased and happy, and will still remain good friends of ours and fans of Making It Grow. Kathy's calling us from Columbia, which is where we'll be broadcasting the next time we come to you. And Kathy, thank you for calling us, and how can we help you?
Well, hey, Amanda, I watch the show all the time, and I hope you're doing well.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And my question is, I recently, just this year, I planted some, and last year I planted some tea olive bushes. And they had some, those little white things on it that puts out the fragrance. But I noticed I had some of those little buds on them, but they don't smell. Well, what's going on with that? What can I do to make them smell?
But they did smell. They did smell at first.
The little tea olives. Got the little blossoms on them.
Yeah. Well, it's real funny because sometimes I'll wake up in the morning when the attic fan is on and the house will smell like tea olive, and then I'll go out there 2 hours later.
You can't smell anything.
And you can't smell anything. So Tony, do you think it's just a vagary that just different times of the day the conditions are right for that fragrance to be wafting all over the yard?
Yeah, I think so. It's in that nectar is where the fragrance is, so it must evaporate out sometimes and produce that smell.
But don't despair, because you will get one of those days when you walk out there and you just go, oh, it's perfectly marvelous. So don't give up the ghost. Those tea olives are just kind of finicky that way. Sometimes they smell wonderful, and sometimes they're just kind of quiet in their scent. John is calling us from I'm sorry, Tony.
Those small flowers kind of dry out real quick.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
There you go. Very, very good idea. Observation. Tony always has good observations. But we're going to see if he can help John, who's calling us from Lexington. John, what can we do for you tonight?
Well, I've been driving my wife nuts over the last few years.
Oh, don't do that.
Wanting to plant stuff, to try to grow stuff from seed. The thing that I've often had a question about is the seed pods on magnolias after the leaves fall off. Can you do anything with those seeds to try to grow another magnolia tree?
Yes, you can. And Tony says that he's going to sit right here and tell you how to do it.
That's right. What I would do is collect them and maybe bring them in and put them.
And that's that little bright red seed.
Let them get mature
down.
before you pick them off, or let them start to dropping or whatever.
Okay.
Before you pick them off.
They come out of that cone thing.
Yeah. And then I would take them and put them into maybe a Ziploc bag and put some peat moss in there and kind of stick them in the refrigerator, and that'd give them
some damp but not wet peat moss.
That's right.
In a Ziploc.
And it kind of give them some winter treatment, and then you can bring them out and plant them in some pots, and it's going to take a while. It's not anything to quick, but they come up all over natively, in the forest all around South Carolina. So they'll come up for you, and then you just transplant them out into your yard.
Now, one that you plant from seed may not be as pretty as the one that you brought home from the nursery. It might have big old kind of rangy leaves, and it might not flower forever and ever and ever. But if you are interested in doing that, you go right ahead and do it. But as Tony said, a lot of them need some cold treatment, and that refrigerator trick ought to take care of it for you. Kathleen is calling us from Augusta. I think that your fans must be across the river and on our side of the river, Vicki. Kathleen, thank you for calling us. And what's happening down there in Georgia?
In Georgia, it's cold. It's very cold. But my question is, what time of the year do you think is best for trimming azaleas?
What time of year is best for trimming azaleas? Well, Tony, you've been living in old houses and places with azaleas around them for a long time. What advice would you give her?
After they flower.
After they flower.
But before, like the middle of 1st of August.
4th of July, I always say,
1st of August, no later than that, at least. 4th of July is good too, or the middle of July. Because what you want to do is cut it off. Ask it if you get the flowers for this year, because if you cut it off before that, you don't cut the flowers off. So if you cut them off after that, but before they set flowers for the next year, because they set it in that fall time. So you don't want to cut those flowers off for next year, you'll be very disappointed.
So we always say get them pruned before the 4th of July. But now, Vicki, if you had a really overgrown situation, would it hurt if you cut them down earlier in the year? If you wanted to get then really get your yard, maybe it moved into a house and it was all overgrown. It wouldn't hurt to cut them down earlier.
No,
would it?
you're going to sacrifice your flowers.
Yeah.
But it's a great time to do a renewal pruning.
Okay,
is what it is.
Good. All right. Chris is calling us from Boiling Springs, and I guess you're hoping they're going to boil up tonight, Chris.
Yes, ma'am. It's been a cold one here recently. I've got some elephant ears, and I really enjoy your show, by the way.
Well, thank you so much.
The frost has really put a hurting on them. Is it time to cut those back, and can I heavy mulch them with pine needles?
Well, if you want to, but I'm kind of like that lazy gardener. But Vicki, if you have time.
I do the same thing as you. The frost hit them just the other night, and they wilted all the way down. And what I do is I just let them wilt all the way down.
It doesn't take long because they're real watery plants.
They're real soft plants.
It's not like it's going to sit there forever for you to look at.
Mine went down
real
2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And you can just leave them the way they are. You don't even have to cut them and mulch them on top, and they'll be fine.
And Tony, most of them, there are some that are a little bit cold hardy, but if it's some that you've been having year after year, usually they're pretty pretty tough and don't require real heavy mulch, do they?
Very tough, and they actually can have become, some of them, a kind of a weed to a certain
Yeah, a
extent.
little bit.
They'll take over wet areas.
Yeah, some of them, if you've got too much moisture, can kind of get out of hand, can't they?
That's right.
Yeah, but they are fun in the summer, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
They have huge leaves on some of them in my yard.
Well, V is calling us from Fountain Inn, and V, I don't know how, we're supposed to be 19 at my house, and you're up there colder than I am. What are y'all looking for tonight?
Yes, ma'am. I was just wondering, you saying you're talking to another woman right now, and I said, well, she can't be talking to me. Well, I called you about 2 months ago. I've been trying to find water creases, and the guy that's talking to that lady right now,
and what is it?
Said something about that you could find them. I punted everywhere to find creases, watercress. Some people call them watercress, some people call them creases. I know it's too late to plant them now, but if somebody could tell me, please, now you've got my name up there, to find out how to find me some crazy seeds.
Okay, well, Tony, I'm sorry, that was a little bit garbled for me. I couldn't quite understand. Was she looking for watercress or?
Watercress.
Watercress,
You cresses.
Cresses.
There's a lot of them. There's actually a lot of weeds.
I think we've got some greasy cress sitting up there on the shelf.
Yeah. And some of the weeds in South Carolina are cresses, swine cress and a few other ones. You can buy cress seed. You can purchase cress seed and from different places, catalogs and things, because a lot of farmers grow them. Actually, we actually do fixing them up and canning and different things in South Carolina.
You know, we went to City Roots Farms couple of years back with Making It Grow, and they had this kind of rotating system where they had tilapia in a pond inside, and they used that water to water the watercress. And watercress is a delicious, peppery kind of flavor.
Yes, it is. All those cresses have that type of flavor in it.
Yeah, sharp.
Sharp.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we're going to check back in with Teresa and see what is the topic of interest right now with her and her chatters. Teresa?
Thank you, Amanda. Well, it's a little all over the place, but that's the way our conversation is most of the time. And that's the great thing about the chat room is you can ask whatever question or bring up any topic that you like. So we've got 13 speakers and 9 viewers participating right now, talking a little bit about camellias. Some of them are a little more cold tolerant than others. And I believe if the buds are still tightly closed, they're more likely to make it through the colder temperatures. And I was talking to someone a little bit earlier that I mentioned I would post a fact sheet about camellia culture for the home gardeners that talks about a few of the things that you might be able to do to offer some winter protection. But you know what? There's no magic cure-all. Sometimes we just have to take what Mother Nature gives us. Still time for you to join in the chat room. Really easy. Just go to the Making It Grow Facebook page and join us. We'd love to have you. Amanda?
Thank you so much. And Rick is calling us from Owendall. And Rick, maybe you won't be quite as chilly tonight as the rest of us are, but what's happening down there that we might be able to help you with? Hey, Rick. Hello. Yes, we're here. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I have a berm that I created from the waste of a pond I dug on my property that's give or take about 700 foot long, and I can't seem to get anything to grow in it. I've got some pampas grass on the top of it that is doing well, but I've tried numerous times to grow. Ground cover, so to speak, on the face, and even though I dig a big hole and put potting soil or topsoil in it, I can't seem to get anything to take root.
All right.
And I really don't want to have to treat the whole berm. Can you tell me how I can get some vegetation other than weeds to grow on the berm.
All righty. Well, Tony's sitting over here nodding very enthusiastically, so I think he's dying to answer your question. Tony, what advice do you have for this berm that was created with material that he dug out of the ground to make a pond down there in Owendale?
I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of people dig up this gumbo type soil out of this pond and expect things to grow in it. And it's very hard and stiff soil, and it holds moisture. And probably when he added that organic matter to that hole, it made a bath. And it's just holding water in there and drowns the plant. So I hate to say it, but you need to add something, sand and organic matter, maybe to the whole area sometimes, to loosen it up a little bit. And if you add organic matter, I mean the sand or something, I'd add really coarse stuff, as coarse as you could get, because it'd probably be organic matter, coarse organic matter, so it'll leave more air pockets in there. It can't, because plants need air to the roots. They have to breathe or they drown.
So this soil is just too heavy and too compacted. If he could find some things that would tolerate wetter soils, would that be a strategy he might? And of course, a grass does not want to do that. Grasses want to be well drained, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe he needs to do some research on things that would tolerate some wetter soils. And there are some, we've got all these rain gardens and things now. And we talk about plants that can tolerate. So maybe that's the best place to go, is to maybe to these Carolina clear sites or something, and find some plants that are suitable for rain gardens and things like that.
Wet and dry. They stand both.
Wet and dry. Okay, I think that is a good idea. Tony, you brought something up here that I don't know how it's going to look in the morning, but it's mighty pretty tonight.
That's right. What I wanted to talk about with it is a lot of people just take those mums and toss them out. These have been in my yard for long years.
Mums.
Just garden mums. Yeah. When they die down, like tonight, if you don't bring them in, they're going to be gone.
They're going to be pretty toasty in the morning.
Yeah, they still will be fine in the pot. Just take and dig a hole in the yard and plant the rascal. And they come back beautifully, and not throw them away. That's just a little bit of a waste, man.
I've got several of them in my yard. I did the same thing, where I just took them off the porch and took them out of the pot and put them in the ground, and now I've got.
And one of the nicer things, I think, is that sometimes when they're grown when you buy them in the pots, they've been pinched. But I think when you put them in the yard, don't they sometimes get taller, and you can cut them and enjoy them a little bit more in the house? Yeah. Well, thank you, Tony. That was good to remind us not to throw those away, but to take them outside and put them in a sunny spot, and you'll have them for years and years to come.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's happened over the years is Clemson Extension's service, and that we're celebrating the 100 years of Extension, the Frank Lever Act, which started all this. And at Clemson, on the campus this year, they had a Celebrate Agriculture Weekend, and one of the highlights of that, besides football, because South Carolina people do love football, was inducting some of the fine founding pioneers of Extension, some of the Extension agents who kind of whose shoulders we stand on. And I think Team Making It Grow went up there and did some wonderful footage of that and had some interviews. And I think you're going to enjoy seeing some of the people whom we emulate and try to do as good a job as they did when they were Extension agents.
I'm here on the campus of Clemson University for a weekend of special events and activities, all about celebrating Clemson Cooperative Extension's 100 years of history and our future moving forward, and to celebrate agriculture in the state of South Carolina. And with me today is Dr. Tom Dobbins, Director of Clemson Cooperative Extension Service. And Dr. Dobbins, what's so special about what's going on this weekend?
Well, today, Corey, thank you, and it's just a great day for Clemson University Extension Service. We're celebrating the 100 years of Cooperative Extension Service in South Carolina, and today we are celebrating or inducting 7 people that were county agents throughout the state of South Carolina into the A. Frank Lever Hall of Fame. As you well know, it's the vision that Mr. Lever had for the Cooperative Extension Service that made today's possible. His vision was to take the university to the people, to improve the lives of the people through South Carolina. And the 7 people that we are inducting into the A. Frank Lever County Extension Agent Hall of Fame today amplified his visions for it. They, because of their unselfishness, work, dedication, and loyalty, they not only improved the agriculture climate in South Carolina, but they improved the lives of hundreds of young people that had the honor to work with these 7 great individuals.
And we learned today from a lot of great speakers at this event about the history of Clemson's extension and how South Carolina really was a pioneer in the cooperative extension movement that, of course, went across the country. And these 7 people were pioneers here in South Carolina. They
are the ones who made the footprint for us in South Carolina. When you had Thomas Green Clemson's vision for Clemson University to have it for everybody in the state of South Carolina and rural South Carolina to get education, and then Mr. Lever's vision of taking the knowledge generated here at Clemson University and passing it on to the people. And then we had some of the pioneers, county extension agents, that took both these men's visions and implemented into their counties back at home. And as you heard today by everybody that spoke about how it impacted not only their family, their farm, but even their ability to continue on and get a higher education. And it's just a testament of how great and how far-reaching the Cooperative Extension Service is here in South Carolina.
Besides the induction of the inaugural class of A. Frank Lever Hall of Fame agents, what else is going on this weekend to celebrate our centennial?
Well, we had a great thing we're going to call Celebrate Agriculture. We play in South Carolina State tomorrow. Those are our 2 land-grant universities in the state. So the entire game is dedicated to celebrate agriculture throughout South Carolina. It will start off in the morning at 9:30 with a big tailgate show over at Little John Coliseum, where we'll have a special honoree VIP tailgate section for a lot of our extension people and a lot of the inductees here. And then the inductees will be announced on the field on the west end zone. Their names will be called out. A family member will represent them there. And then our Vice President for Agriculture and our interim dean for College of Agriculture, Forestry, Life Sciences will actually present the game day football. So it's a great event for not only for both South Carolina State and Clemson University as we begin and celebrate the 100 years of cooperative extension in this state.
Dr. Dobbins, I'm really looking forward to the next 100 years of extension and all that will have to offer. I know it's a really exciting time to be in extension, and it's an honor for me to be a part of it. And I want to just thank you for your leadership, and thank you for putting this program together today to honor these important pioneers in extension and really to help us celebrate all weekend long.
Corey, I want to tell you, it just wasn't me. That's what I love about the Extension Service. It's an extension family. I've got a great staff here at Clemson working with me to make this happen. As you know, I've touched you to be chair of our Strategic Planning Committee. I think it's going to be not my vision, but our vision, what makes our Extension Service grow. We have leadership with President Clements and our new Provost Jones coming on, Dr. Eskew. Extension is poised to become a great force, economic development force in the state of South Carolina. It's not because of me, it's because of the great young people that we have that believe and have a passion in what they do. And it's just, I'm excited every day that I get up to come to work, and it's just a great day to be part of Clemson family and the Clemson Cooperative Extension family.
Well, thank you, Dr. Dobbins, for your time today. Really looking forward to that football game tomorrow, and go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
The 4 extension agents that are here and the ones who join us so nicely on the show, we all hope that one day we can look back and feel like we've made a difference to the lives of some people in South Carolina. And we really appreciate the opportunity that y'all give us to work with you in a lot of different places. And we all wear a lot of different hats, which that was quite an interesting segue. I thought that was pretty good. And so tonight, of course, I have my hat, and I went out in the garden. And Tony, I just think that this Amsonia, it's a beautiful plant.
It is. When it gets golden, it's just so beautiful.
And this one would be fuzzier. I kind of kind of wired it up like trying to get a hairdo to behave. But it's a wonderful plant that you can grow in the garden. Wonderful in sandy soils too, once you get it established. And then, we like these hot peppers, and I just thought they were such a great color.
They are
just like I was kind of like Vicki out there, the freeze is coming, let's go get the last of the things that are still in the garden. So isn't that kind of fun when that happens? Tony, I think that you've got another show and tell for us.
Okay, we got a few, actually. I just wanted to remind the folks, it's sweet potato time of year. It's that time of year that the folks need to go out and search out some good sweet potatoes because this is fall. And this one, this is actually a jumbo. A lot of people say, well, I grew the biggest sweet potato, but actually in the commercial realm, this is...
Nobody wants that.
Because it's too big to bake. Yeah, it takes too long. And this one has veining in it, which is kind of genetic...
but it wouldn't hurt to cook that potato if you dug it up.
It's not going to hurt the flavor of it at all.
It just takes a long time to cook.
Just take a long time to cook.
But what's the size most people want, Tony?
It's somewhere around 2.5 inches.
That looks like about the size I'd like.
About around that size, and not too awful long, about 2.5 to 9 inches long. Is a perfect, what we call #1 potato. And then anything bigger than that or too much smaller than that, let's say 1.5 inches or smaller, is actually what we call a canner. Which is what they actually take and put in cans, Okay.
And I think that that's going to be the #1 side dish at a lot of Thanksgiving dinners coming up next week, don't you? Sweet potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, Tony. We do love our sweet potatoes, and they're good for you, too.
That's right.
Real good for you.
Very good.
Jeff has been patiently holding the phone has been patiently holding on the telephone, and he lives in Union. Thanks for calling us, Jeff, and what's going on up there that we can help you with tonight?
I have 2-part questions.
All righty.
First of all, when is the best time to prune my knockout rose bushes?
All right. And what's your second question?
And the next question is, where or what kind of tree do you get basswood from?
Do you get what kind of wood from?
Bass.
Bass.
Basswood?
Use it for carving.
Bass.
Oh, okay. I'm glad somebody's here who knows all about that. Thank you so very much. Well, when do the prune to knockout rose?
Now, Kennard Pyle, who breeds knockout roses, has a fact sheet on their website about pruning knockouts. But generally, about Valentine's Day is when you'd want to.
Now, they are not pruned severely like our hybrid teas, are they, Vicki?
You don't necessarily have to cut them all the way back down to the ground. I believe mine probably 13, 14 inches tall.
All right.
And it'll put on 2 feet, 3 feet in a season.
Okay.
But you definitely don't want to prune them too early, and you don't want to prune them right now.
Yeah. So wait until then, so that because you don't want that new growth that pruning stimulates to be killed by a late frost.
Right.
Is that correct?
Or by the winter.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
by
just
the
by the
winter.
winter.
No.
Yeah.
Now, Tony, this kind of wood that you use for carving, and I'm sorry that I was a little confused about that. Tell
It's
me
just hard. It's very hard. And if I remember right, basswood is the lindens. It's very hard tree, and used a lot of times for different things because it is so hard.
Okay. So just check with the local nursery that is good. But it takes so long to get it to grow. It seems to me you're going to have to find a supply maybe where you can get it. What do you think?
Yes, it would take a long time for it to grow because it's so hard.
Yeah.
So
those trees
dense.
are usually kind of slow growing.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I learned something. Thank you so much for calling up that question, Jeff. Okay, David is calling us from Burt Branch, and when I get home tonight, we might have to burn a branch or two in the fireplace to stay warm. David, what's happening up there that we can help you with?
I really don't have a question. I just wanted to tell y'all how much I enjoy your program.
That's
and
nice
I enjoy
of you.
your columns in the newspapers. And I want to tell Tony Melton how much I enjoyed his column about the South Carolina Farmers of the Year a week or so ago. I live on South Carolina Century Farm. And my wife just came in from cutting the turnip greens
Oh. Well, then y'all can be thankful for Tony for that good advice, and we are thankful for you for taking the time to say something nice about us and for watching our show. Thank you very, very, very much. And Tony, tell us a little bit about that Farmers Festival that you and I were down. We were in Lake City, and wasn't it a nice day?
Yes, it certainly was. It's a beautiful day, and we had it on the inside because this time of year you never can tell because sometimes it can be not too nice like the weekend before. But we were down in Lake City at the Bean Museum. Down in Lake City, it's the National Historic Bean Museum, and then they have a building off to the side that's called a Rob. And we had a wonderful day with all booths filled up this entire building.
Wonderful.
A lot of folks come in. A lot of farmers came in.
I
Some
think we've
beautiful
got some
greens.
pictures. Oh, here we go. I tell you, thank you, people in the control room. That was pretty magical.
And this is some pictures of the Farm of the Year awards.
She's the small farmer of the year.
This is small farm. This is Miss Taylor from Selden Rest Farms.
And then
and
this
now
gentleman.
This is the large Farm of the Year. This is Mr. Mark Marsh. He's accepted an award for that, and
I think Bacon and Grow has done a show on him also, haven't they?
Yes, we have. We went over to his turf farm. He has a turf farm, and he has a turf farm, and then he had his chicken farm in the middle of his turf farm. It looks like a chicken farm in the middle of a golf course. So, thanks to Arbor One, they helped us with the prizes and all to give to those folks.
And Dr. Dobbins, our boss, came
Dr.
down
Dobbins was there.
Was very gracious to make that trip.
And presented the awards.
It was a good day.
We had a great day.
All right, okay. We got a call from Bob in Conway. Good to talk to you, Bob. How can we help you tonight?
Yes, ma'am. 2 questions.
All right.
Number one, what's the best time of the year to transplant azaleas?
Okay.
And then number 2, what is something good that you can put on centipede grass to get rid of mole crickets?
Okay. All right. I'll let you do the azalea question.
Well, fall is a wonderful time to plant any of your trees and shrubs. Most of the time, because the tops go dormant, so they spend the winter and the fall putting all their energy into growing roots.
So a good time to transplant once it gets nice and cold, and just remember that they're going to take a little more water than just something that's established.
Right,
Is that right?
Okay. And make sure whenever you're planting them, you want to dig the hole at least as deep as the root ball and 2 to 5 times as wide.
Okay. Mole crickets and centipede.
It'd be best time to do it in the early spring, because the old ones are there now.
I know,
and
they're
they
too
go
hard to treat.
deep, and they're hard to kill, and then they're going to come out in the spring, and they're going to fly around and go anywhere you got a light. That's where they're the worst at, because they're drawn.
If you've got an outdoor security light, you're going to have more trouble than other people.
That's
Cut
exactly
that off
right.
would help. Tony, I think we've got some fact sheets that actually help you figure out when to target the insecticide application. Is that correct?
To get them immatures or the small ones.
So it's much easier to control a young insect, a small insect, than a great big
Any kind of pest, doesn't matter what it is, whether
Yes.
it's an insect, a weed, whenever it's young and actively growing is the best time to try to
check out that
control them.
HGIC website for mole crickets.
Yep, it's got a graphic on it and everything.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. And we're going to now say good night to Teresa, and we're going to say how thankful we are that she is a part of our wonderful family here in Sumter with Making It Grow. Teresa?
Thank you, Amanda. It certainly is a privilege to be part of Team Making It Grow, and I'd like to say kudos to Tony. He is absolutely correct on the basswood. The genus name is Tilia, or at least that's how I say it. I'm not sure if that's how you say it in Latin, but it is the linden family, so people call it American basswood or American linden. And there's a great website, the NPIN website, if you're wanting more information, but it does reach about 100 feet, so very large tree. Thanks to everyone for chatting with me this evening. It was great to be back in the chat room. We will be off for the next few weeks, so we'll be enjoying turkey at home with our families, but we will do our best to maintain the Facebook page. So if you have any questions, you can always post your photos or questions on there or email us, and we'll do our very best to respond to you. Thanks again, and wishing all of you a very happy Thanksgiving. Amanda?
Thank you. And tomorrow, Team Making It Grow is going to go down 12 miles out of some town on Highway 378 to Hickory Hill Milk Farm because we're real excited. They are now, all of their milk is going to Clemson to make that incredibly delicious Clemson blue cheese.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yes.
And boy, it is really fine. And they have wonderful, wonderful milk there, wonderful cows. And we're really excited. We're going to bring you the story of Clemson blue cheese. We've also been going around, Tony, and visiting some peanut farmers because peanuts are a big crop in South Carolina now.
Getting bigger every year.
They sure are. So we're really excited. We've been going around trying to learn a little bit more about agriculture in the state. And of course, Tony, vegetables are always right up there on the top, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, I love them myself.
So we do hope that we've got people putting out some row covers so that we'll have wonderful fresh greens next Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Next week.
Yes.
And we want to thank you so much. We want to remind people that if they'll check with you, they can find out about this wonderful Master Gardener training program, that opportunity that you have. It really is one of the most rewarding things. People who tell me that it just means the entire world to them. We want to tell you that we are thankful to our volunteers, to our production team here, and everyone who helped build this set that we've enjoyed for all these years. Thank you, and for all the happy times that we've had here. We're looking forward to many more happy times with you in the future. Night, night.
Making It Grow is brought to you in part by Santee Cooper, South Carolina's state-owned electric and water utility. More information on green power and energy conservation programs online at santeecooper.com. The South Carolina Department of Agriculture, reminding you that certified South Carolina agricultural products help make South Carolina grow. McLeod Farms in McBee, South Carolina. This family farm offers seasonal produce, including over 22 varieties of peaches. Glory Foods, celebrating Southern food with a soulful heritage. Glory Foods, a way of inviting South Carolina back to the dinner table. FTC Diversified, a proud part of your local communities, providing communication, entertainment, and security. Art Fields, a 10-day art competition in Lake City, South Carolina. Additional funding provided by International Paper.